From that break, glad you're still watching Science Breakfast with me, Alan Habert, and the sign language interpreter is Gideon Minor. In studio, I am with Anthony Mabongo.
Timothy Mabango.
Mabango, sorry. Mabango. All right. Somebody misspelled, I don't know. Timothy Mabango, he works with Uamuzi Foundation, and it is an organization that deals with civic education for young persons and those who are marginalized in the community. In our first half of this conversation, we spoke about what Uamuzi does and why he thinks the vision and mission of Uamuzi is important, and also those pinpoint questions that you always have. Why is it really that young persons do not want to participate in all these political processes and civic engagement, or they participate but they never finish the rest in this civic engagement, participation and involvement? So we spoke about the problems, but now let us talk about the solutions. From a Uamuzi point of view, what is the solution for political apathy?
The solution for political apathy, in fact, I tend to believe we can't talk about solution because there is no one magical solution.
What looks like a solution?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
If we cannot talk about one, then what would look like possible solutions?
The main reason I refuse the word solution is that, okay, let me use the word approach. You know, we need a multifaceted, or rather a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
First and foremost, of course, we've discovered that in terms of political apathy, there is no generation that has more political apathy like the youth. Talk of Gen Z, not just the Gen Z, let's just talk about 18 to 35, the usual youth bracket. So how do we get to the youth? You know, that would be the first point of getting towards the solution. Like I had stated, or as many of us would know, you know, this is an iPhone generation. I'm not saying all of us have an iPhone or so, but yeah, technology is where the world is headed to. When we talk about globalization, the world has become like a village. I can talk to somebody in China, talk at the same time with somebody in the US, or we could even be in a conference call with people from Brazil and everywhere, and that is the norm. If we can't say we are headed there, we are already there. So now that we've discovered technology is the way, and of course the youth have an affinity towards technology, then that already gives us a hint towards what we need to do. So first and foremost, technology integration. By integrating technology in decision making, you're creating a table where everyone can eat. Because like I mentioned, conventionally, talk of public participation or all this means that we use to like try and keep people engaged. They are political, that is one. And whenever it's political, it's a game of interests. And again, when it's a game of interests, you talk of manipulation. Because if I have to get something done or get something from people, I need to manipulate them, talking about it from a political standpoint. Talk of even things like media framing. You know, even the media can be used to propagate a certain agenda, a certain mindset, a certain view, which, for example, the status quo would wish to disseminate at that particular point. So once we integrate technology, we are reducing that barrier, because you find most youth never had that voice. Technically speaking, we didn't have that voice. But by integrating technology, and we are talking of things like the Uamuzi app, I actually saw UNDP at some point were talking about wewe.vote, you know, just finding people from wherever they are. Because if you can't come to this level we are talking about, then the best thing, and I would agree with the commissioner for IEBC, that is Dr. Lutala, he was saying that we need to reach out to these youth, just go to them, you know, and technology is actually the best way. I was talking about approach, and I refuse to say solution, because I believe, you know, we are talking about technology integration, but we are remembering it's not the youth alone we are dealing with. We are dealing with everyone. So besides integrating technology, we also need kupeleka hii injili mashinani. Because most of the time, and most of us would agree, this conversation is limited to, you know, social media, which again, not everyone is a user. I'm so concerned about the grassroots. So now that there is this lack, there is a general lack of, you know, information, especially when we talk about civic information. Tukienda kule mashinani, utapata kwamba watu wengi, kwa mfano, hawajui their roles, their rights, their responsibilities. Mtu tu anajua ni Mkenya, kuna katiba, anangoja 2027 kwa mfano apige kura, lakini ni watu wachache kabisa unapata kwamba wanajua what they are supposed to do. most of us keep complaining about leaders, but we don't believe something can be done about it. We believe anyway, if we are talking about option A versus option B, we are just supposed to choose the better evil. But I think that's a very wrong mindset. So if we can do proper civic engagement, like proper, not just within urban centers, but us as civil society organizations, for example, and citizens of goodwill, we can go to all grassroots. So combination of technology plus proper and objective, well-informed, well-thought-out and objective civic engagement at the grassroots.
Yeah.
I believe that would be a perfect solution.
Yeah, solution granted or approach taken note of. Where do the voices of persons with disabilities sit in all of this?
Persons with disabilities. As a matter of fact, when we look at our constitution, actually Kenya is privileged to have a very progressive constitution. We have affirmative action, and there are various clauses within the constitution that talk about affirmative action, that is creating space so that he or she who did not have equal chance as somebody else has the same platform, or rather the same chance to have the same voice. So talking of PWDs in terms of representation, we are not yet there, looking even at our political seats, looking at our bureaucracy in government, looking at various spheres within the society. We hardly find PWDs as they should. Why would that be the case? Because I've schooled with many PWDs. I'm actually a friend to quite a number. Very brilliant people, of course. So what exactly would be limiting them? Are they not interested? I believe not. Some of the most ambitious people I know are PWDs. So you find in most cases, and this has to boil down back to policy, you find most of our policies are in shelf and on paper and not in practice. For instance, we were talking about the two-third gender rule. I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I'll come back to PWD. So we know about the two-third gender rule, but it's never been implemented. Anytime it's supposed to be implemented, our politicians do as they normally do. So talking of PWD, I believe the solution would come chiefly from policymakers, though I believe there is that room for advocacy. I believe us as CSOs and anybody, this is now about citizens of goodwill. Being a good citizen, and I've done a little bit of philosophy as well. When Plato talks about the republic, good citizenship and everything, I believe this cake is for all of us. So anybody should be able to know their rights, their responsibilities, and we should be able to advocate for each other. So when we talk about PWDs, we should be able to fight for this at national level, at policy level, and even eventually at political level. If we choose the right leaders, hold them accountable, it is something so doable. So for PWDs, I would consider it from a policy standpoint. Yeah.
You say that through the Uamuzi app, people go on there, they share their views, they share their sentiments, they are able to hold their leaders accountable. Then after that, what next? Because as a platform, then you are able to curate these conversations, you are able to have these barazas and all of that. Then after all that is said and done, what next? Yeah, not even for you. What next for the feedback? What next for the conversations that have been had on the platform? We've seen demonstrations. People have been killed right at the stairs of our national parliament, but still, government did not budge.
It is a journey. It's not a one-day thing. For Uamuzi, actually, part of our model or rather framework, we use the UN Sustainable Development Goals, talk of SDG 5, 9, 13, 16, 17. 17 is partnerships for goals. And actually, this is a conversation that would be so interesting for me, especially being in charge of partnerships for Uamuzi. So we understand so well that if we are having that conversation, for example, on the Uamuzi app, if we don't translate it into meaningful action, then it's actually a total waste of time. We would rather just have remained with the usual social media, watch out, Facebook, Twitter, and that is enough. But for us now, partnership is a big deal. For instance, we spoke about political apathy and the need for encouraging the youth to turn up to make this decision and everything. Yeah, we've managed to bag IEBC on our side, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. So being a partner with them, of course, we co-develop training curriculum, that is voter education curriculum, and we also help them through this partnership, both the synergy. We take this gospel even to the grassroots. We also have, or rather are in process of signing an MOU with the NCIC, that is cohesion and integration, talk of peace building and everything, because most of us, the youth especially, and I think it's a common thing with the youth, regardless of the generation or the country. Most of us, the youth, love, violence. Even when you watch movies, you hardly find the youth thinking about sitting at the decision table. So we just want to get things done. So considering the same, you find even as the youth, we could be talking on Uamuzi, but from a bitterness standpoint. It's not like you want change or you even believe change can be done. So as Uamuzi, by partnering with organizations like NCIC, we are in conversation with Young Parliamentarians Association, bring all these stakeholders together. What are your views? What are your opinions? Through our research department, for example, we also do policy briefs.
Yeah.
Through research, I believe this can be communicated to the political spaces, because I believe even legislation, by the way, for those viewers who might not know, of course, you're given as a citizen the right to legislate, either directly, that could be through referenda or like people do, or through like representatives. So through representation, of course, you can take your, your policies or whatever, and they can still be tabled at the parliament. And if agreed with the parliamentarians through, of course, the correct channels, then change can be made. So we are bringing all these stakeholders together, finding a way of translating this feedback that we have.
Yeah.
Big data analytics, of course, also seeing where the trends are. Then, yeah, we can bring different stakeholders as necessary. Also partnerships with other CSOs, doing either the same thing or something related to this, so that we can take this gospel to the grassroots.
Yeah. In winding up, what are some of the, let me call them drastic mechanisms that you think we can use to push persons who are young to go register to vote or even participate in political participation, civic engagement, and that entire process, because the change has to happen? You could give me like 2 or 3 as we're winding up.
No worries. I think I'll give either 1 or 2. 2 or 3 would be too much.
You'll be giving away so much.
Not really. We are willing to give out so much.
Yeah. But also, before you continue,
yes.
violence was a little bit on the high side. Let's say young persons are assertive, non-violent.
Okay. I stand corrected. So yes, assertive and bold.
Yes, assertive and bold.
So for the youth, to ensure that we are politically engaged, or rather ensuring that the youth translate this rage, or rather what they feel is right, into the ballot, or rather into decision making. First and foremost, I spoke about technology. I think I've spoken about technology a lot of times.
Yeah, probably I would restructure my question. We've seen and good you gave yourself out that Uamuzi is working with IEBC. What are some of the mechanisms? Let us restrict ourselves to the current process that is happening, continuous voter registration. What are the creative ways, probably I could say, that IEBC, not even incentivize. I don't think young persons need to be incentivized. If the bad roads to your home or to your estate or to your uni aren't an incentive enough for you to go register to vote, then you have a, I'm not going to finish that statement. If you slept hungry yesterday because you aren't able to afford a meal, that should be an incentive enough for you to wake up the following morning and go register to be a voter. If you're a mother and you are still a young mother and you're not able to afford your child's school fees, that is an incentive enough. So nobody needs to be incentivized to be incentivized to go register as a voter. That is out of the way. But what are the creative young ways that IEBC can use to go to the young person to register them as a voter?
I get the question. I would disagree on only one point. You have an idealistic view that people should be incentivized. In fact, pain should be enough incentive. It is not the case, especially at the grassroots.
Yeah.
Well, back to the question, talk of IEBC.
Why is it not enough?
For that one, I can't explain. It's personal. It's personal. But the only thing I'm sure, pain is not an enough incentive for most of us.
Pain was enough for China to make the changes that they've been able to make.
Probably the pain threshold is not yet achieved for our country. I believe
I will take that. I will take that.
So for IEBC, you find mostly, if you ask anybody, especially at grassroots, most of us know IEBC from the mainstream media, talk of TV and all that. But you see, the young people are not always there. Watu wa Netflix sasa tutakuwa tuna watch news tukiambiana nini.
Yeah.
You know, news, we can find it in real time. We have digital newspapers and everything. Same approach. Let's try and think like the young people. Maybe bring them on the table so that they can give you these ideas. One of them could be robust use of social media, because everyone is on X and everyone has something to say on X, for example, or apps like ours, for example, Talk of Uamuzi. Let's use these platforms that the young people use. So let's forget about doing things old school. We can do a combination. If old school has to be kept, we can now do a combination. Now talk of things like social media and everything. I think that would be a way. And for the young people, if we have to find them in large numbers, it's us young people who can reach out to young people and we can relate. So for this particular gospel, we can do it even on matatus. I'm happy some people do civic engagement on matatus, on public barazas. Let everyone take initiative. You know, for this thing, if we leave it to IEBC alone or for CF source like Uamuzi, we are limited to a large extent. We are talking of 50 million plus. In fact, 50 million is an understatement. Talking of the 2019 census, we are talking of 50 plus. So IEBC alone is not enough. So if we can find a way, I can't say we really have a perfect solution yet. So if we can find a way of ensuring everybody feels this burden, if we take ownership of our problems, then we can all collectively take ownership of our solutions. I believe so. Yeah, and that would be my thoughts.
Yeah. Your last thought, something that you might have wanted to say, but I've not asked you a particular question in regards to it.
We've actually covered a lot, and I do appreciate this chance. I have a message, I think, for many of those who would be like stakeholders of this conversation. And I'll use the figure of Mark chapter 16 from the good book. Mark chapter 16 talks about the resurrection of the Lord. So for the young people, we are at the sepulchre. Our country is, okay, I almost used the word dead, but now we are talking about extremities. I won't use the same term. We are not yet where we should be. As the young people, we are all waiting for the stone to be rolled. There is no angel coming from heaven or from the US or from wherever part of the world. We are the change that we want. Standing at the sepulchre, we are the ones who are supposed to roll this change and bring back the country to life, to resurrect our country or to resuscitate it. It's us as the youth who stand at the door. We have these numbers. We have the numbers, of course, having that 30%. The numbers are good. So if we as the youth can collectively stand and decide that, for example, we want change, and we've decided all of us are taking these votes, we have our voters card and we are voting, then change is possible. For our political leadership, of course, there is much of trust deficiency. So for the political leadership, it's high time we think of things differently, because change is inevitable. It is here. You know, Kenya has been, I wouldn't say the trendsetter, but technically in terms of this mechanism of change that is on people's mind. We've seen Madagascar, we've seen examples like Nepal. So all these are possibilities, but we wouldn't want to go there. Of course, we look unto you, our political leaders, or rather our public leadership. That change has to come from your wisdom. In as much as everyone has to be part of this solution, you people have a solution as well. So, parting shot to everyone. And of course, I work for Uamuzi. Uamuzi ni wako. These changes that we are talking about, these decisions that we are talking about, nobody is coming to save us. Kenya ni yetu sote, by being a citizen, whether by birth or by registration or adoption. Not so sure if the last really means of attaining citizenship for this generation. But yeah, by being a citizen, you have your own rights, your roles, as well as responsibilities. So all of us know our rights, and we've been at the forefront talking about we want this, we deserve this, you know, Article 55 says this, Article 100 talks this about public participation and all about representation and everything, so we know our rights. But what about our roles and responsibilities? As good citizens, we have something to do about it. If the pain, like my host mentioned, if the pain can't incentivize you, then there is no hope for you. So the hope lies with and in you. We stand at the door. Uamuzi ni wako. Find Uamuzi platform from Google Play Store. Let's talk. Let's keep engaging. Let's keep the conversation rolling. It's been a pleasure, my host.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. And I hope if you're not fired up, then I don't know what other thing is going to incentivize you this morning. Kindly go ahead and register to become a voter. And we're going to be back with Sporty na Mandela.